You've probably seen Universal Soldier many times, but almost nobody notices that half of the strange things in this movie are actually remnants of a completely different film that was originally planned. Let's start with the biggest one. The original script was much darker. The military itself was supposed to be the real villain of the story. In the early version, the terrorist crisis at the dam, the one the Universal Soldiers heroically stopped, was actually staged by the army. They created the threat just to prove that the Unisol program was necessary. The studio removed that storyline, but traces of it remain in the film. The military behaves suspiciously, yet the story never fully explains why. Now let's talk about the opening Vietnam scene. It looks like a jungle, but it was actually filmed on a golf course in Arizona. The crew simply brought in plants, mud, and smoke machines. If you watch closely, the ground in some shots looks almost too perfectly flat. That's because underneath the decorations, it was still a golf green. The film repeatedly tells us that Universal Soldiers overheat and need to cool their bodies with ice. But if you watch the fights carefully, especially the final battle, the characters keep fighting far longer than that rule should allow. So the rule the movie establishes is something the movie itself constantly ignores. Now something from the production side. Before the premiere, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren staged what looked like a real fight at the Cannes Film Festival. They pushed each other, shouted, and acted like a brawl was about to start in front of the press. Later, it turned out to be a publicity stunt for the movie. Marketing in the early 90s was very direct. And here's another thing most viewers never notice. Almost all the American soldiers in the film are actually not American. Van Damme is Belgian, Lundgren is Swedish, and the giant soldier GR-76 is played by a Gur. So one of the most American action movies of the 90s was largely performed by Europeans. And finally, one subtle visual idea from director Roland Emmerich. Throughout the movie, Luke Devereaux is almost always moving, reacting, searching. Andrew Scott, on the other hand, is often shown standing rigid and still, almost like a machine. The entire film quietly builds around that contrast. Not just two soldiers, but a human being versus a weapon.